Wednesday night soccer comes to you from Isotopes Park in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And New Mexico United has taken their market by storm. El Paso and New Mexico with identical records. And both could move into fourth tonight with a win. They have taken the USL Championship by storm. Two of the 7 expansion teams in the league this year. Hi everybody, Mike Watts, Devin Kerr on hand for the call. This one, Phoenix have picked up the last 33 available points. They have seemingly pulled away from the Western Conference, but New Mexico or El Paso would jump Austin into 4th place. Now would not only avoid the preliminary round of the playoffs, it would put them in a home playoff position this mid-season point. As we take a look at El Paso's dynamic attack. They're missing a key piece tonight, but Velasquez has been a nice pickup. Salgado and Gebhardt, they have to combine.
Finally got to a part where you can call it a front 3. Missing one, but that's okay. Gebhardt, Salgado, they've got to find a way to start closing out their chances. This is a team who is dead last when it comes to playoff teams in the Western Conference in conversion rate. That's not for lack of creation. They do very well working from the back, getting all the way forward, but Mark Lowry admits they have to be more clinical when they get in front of the 8x8.
So those are the 3 who have to combine for El Paso. How about these 2? It's quite simple for New Mexico. They've had a phenomenal year.
Let's start with their offense in general. This is a team that had multi-goal games in 10 of the first 13 matches. They've only done it once in the last 7, so they have to find a way to get these guys back in their scoring methods. Obviously, a lot of that Open Cup drama took a lot out of these guys. The energy is now back on track. Freighter, only 1 goal since the month of June. Santi Moar has not hit the back of the net since May 25th. They got to find a way to get these 2 going forward. They're too talented.
New Mexico put a ton of chips into the U.S. Open Cup. They made the quarterfinals. Freighter and Moar, major goals along the way. They try and get back into the mix now. Let's take a look at the New Mexico starting 11. Freighter is back. It was a coach's decision that kept him out last time.
He comes in for the one change, which is Salim Muhammad in the middle of the field. He's going to step up underneath Devin Sandoval. Chris Wehan will drop into that attacking role right in front of Juan Pablo Guzman. The balance in the outside mids of Santi Moar and Akamatsu has been nice. They're looking for the same thing on the back line in the likes of Padilla. And guess who? Number 5, Captain America, Josh Suggs comes back in. He's finally healthy. They have a full squad. They're ready to go.
Meanwhile, El Paso does not have a full squad. They're missing former U.S. men's national team player Jerome Kiesewetter. 10 goals in his opening 11 games for El Paso, but he's missing now the hamstring injury. So we look at the lineup without him as part of the equation, Devin.
He hasn't scored since June 15th, and the team in general has been struggling. Only 2 goals in the previous 6 matches. Oh, by the way, they're 0-3-3 in that time frame. They've shifted their philosophy. They've gone out of the 4-2-3-1. They are now sitting in a diamond. Seba will sit in the number 7 right there. He'll start to push things forward. I love what's going on the left-hand side, so much so that it's overloaded. They got to find a way to get Chepa and Rebellon on the right more involved and get a counterbalance between the 2.
And Jermaine Forta makes his 2nd start for El Paso tonight. Defense has not been the problem. It's just been those 2 pesky goals in the last 6 games. Meanwhile, New Mexico back home where they've been so good. Wednesday night soccer coming up next. New Mexico United, El Paso Locomotive, second all-time meeting comes on Wednesday Night Soccer. Identical records for the two expansion sides that have impressed so much in 2019. We're underway from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand. It's New Mexico in black, left to right, and El Paso in white, right to left. Gato giving chase. Left aside to Ken Akamatsu, the 24-year-old, making his seventh professional start at the University of Denver. Fox. Devin, what do you like about what El Paso has done over these last 6 games? Because you and I spoke to Mark Lowry this morning. There are a lot of things to like. They've hit the post 3 times. They're inches away from another 6-8 points. This is lofted out of play by Salgado.
That's the good news. They're creating. A lot of coaches don't have that luxury right now. They're chasing playoff points, and number one, they're not sitting above the line, nor are they being as fruitful as they are in the final third. Unfortunately, things just aren't really being as meticulous as they'd like them to be, and they're not closing things out. What I do like is I like the switch in the middle of the field. This is something that Mark Lowry has talked about for a while. He's been an admirer from afar in some of the opponents he's faced at all the levels he's coached at, and said the diamond could always suit us quite well if, and only if, I had the right personnel. What does he do? Goes out, gets the big German, Jerome Kiesewetter, and then once he finally gets what he thinks is the last piece, and the likes of Sebastian Velasquez, he makes the change. Kiesewetter takes his seat. Can they conclude things in the final third without the big striker up top?
Frater knocks it aside. Sandoval swarmed. Picked up by Drew Becky.
The boys in the middle are going to have their work cut out for them. Referencing Nick Ross, Luis Herrera, he goes by Chapa, because New Mexico United like to tuck their outside backs inside, and it really caused problems for midfields. What happens is Josh Suggs will start to move his way up. There'll be the look where Santimora will get the ball down in the channel, Suggs will overload the midfield, and vice versa. Santimora has no problem playing second fiddle to Josh Suggs. Not saying that's a look you're going to see on a regular basis, but it's a relationship that was blossoming at the beginning of the year, and unfortunately, due to an injury to Josh Suggs, that had to take a seat. They are both back in action, and more importantly, both back on the same side of the field. Keep an eye on them.
Weehan. By Padilla, who's inverted a bit. Frater, Akamatsu. Challenge in by Nick Ross. First foul of the match. Garcia, our referee. Picked up by Sandoval, native of Albuquerque. And in steps Salgado, face of this Locomotive side, himself a native of El Paso. Salgado gets by him, Ross in pursuit, comes out to Akamatsu. Meanwhile, for New Mexico, they're home. How often in the last 2.5 months have we said that? Troy Lesesne will be the first to say, I don't remember many details of June or July. They were on the road constantly, and the Open Cup only added to it.
You have to remember in league play as well, they started first 5 of 8, almost 50% of their games, just over, on the road. But guess what? 10 of 14 down the stretch are at the Lab. Talk about home field advantage. You cannot understand what a ruckus this place can cause, and they feed off of it. It is quite difficult to come in here and get a result. And on the reverse side of things, New Mexico United, they look mighty fine when they're in front of their home fans.
They had that awesome sellout on Cinco de Mayo. And since then, they've barely been home. James Kiffey had thrown that in. He'll have to do it again. Foreground, Troy Lesesne. In the background is Mark Lowry, age 35 and age 33. It's Lesesne, the elder statesman, which I can say about once or twice a year. Still speaking with the referee. Into space. Paso won't get very far with that. Picked up by Cody Mizell. At times has felt like the supporters' spirit animal on the field.
Extension, he's been not just for the supporters, but for the club in general. Talked about great crowds. How about that game against T2 where things went awry for a second? Some extracurriculars, and he was able to step up, calm him down, and that's what Troy Lesesne says, that it's not just what he's able to do in between the pipes for us, but a leader within this club, both on and off the field.
Velasquez. Touch let him down. Went to South Korea after 2 very fruitful years for Real Monarchs. Before that, time at NYCFC, Rio OKC, the NASL, and at Real Salt Lake, where he really made his name. With that, Devin hasn't played in a few months coming off that South Korean season. He waited for the right opportunity, and El Paso was that.
Funny how they both kind of came back to back. Felt like it was great for his family to get the experience to go overseas and experience the culture there, the playing style. Grateful for that. And then Mark Lowry comes a calling. Said they had multiple people coming after him and just felt like this was the right place. Took a couple of days and some pretty high quality recruiting from within. For me, what really took it was his talk about this system that they've gone into and how it was the one thing he felt was probably a detriment to his play at Real Monarchs, was he was starting from a lot of deep positions, having to do a lot on his own going forward.
Salgado lofts the cross. It gets cleared away. Ross in pursuit. And the slide down done by Manny Padilla.
Impressive going forward from the Locomotive. There's that peel off from Salgado. Great ball back across. This is well done by Justin Schmidt just to get enough on it right in front. Josh Suggs getting involved. And all of that came about from the midfield play. Just going back to Sebastian Velasquez, Seba says that he felt like he was having to make these 40, 50-yard runs and got himself in trouble a lot, to be honest. That's not the case now. Feels like his role is much more defined in the system under Mark Lowry. Only one game, but the training that they've had. You have to understand that waited about 10 days to get on the pitch for the Real Monarchs game, and they've had a week and a half off now. That's a boatload of time to come in, only one game under your belt.
Sandoval flicks that over the crossbar. He had brought that down. The nice touch. He lashed it home.
Good role reversal as well, with Frater pushing up, laying it off for Devin Sandoval, who had dropped just to the top of the 18. That's what you want out of them. Don't give them the same look over and over. Great job by Yvonne Frater. Sandoval's got that near post in his sights. Calibration still a bit off.
Ross lost it. Sandoval, after Weehan had stepped in, laying this off, lifted over by Moar. Devin, most of all coming into this game, I thought this was going to be a well-played game. Two teams that at their best possess the ball well, defend as a unit well, have the star quality. It's lifted for Derek Gebhardt. Velasquez makes himself available. Back to recover Weehan.
Some of the rust coming off of Velasquez right there. And recognizing that Chapa had slowed the run down a little bit smartly as well. Should have stepped on it and brought it back, and they do have this beautiful ebb and flow about their games where they can put it around, knock it around with the best of them. but the evolution of New Mexico United has been towards the style of El Paso Locomotive. El Paso has always been very keen to put the ball on the deck and play a bit more. They are now trending in the fact that they can go in transition much faster than what they were capable of at the beginning of this year. Credit to Mark Lowry understanding exactly where these pieces needed to be employed. We already talked about the diamond shape in the middle of the field. Nick Ross on the left. Really like the movement out there from him. And this man, Omar Salgado, can you get him in the one-on-one situation and then capitalize?
Salgado crossing again. Started the year as a center forward, which is a position that he grew up playing. It does make sense, but they got Jerome Kiesewetter, brought him in, and they brought him back to another position that they feel he's more suited for, out on the left. He's taken to that at times already tonight. Kiffy, loss. Ross. Velasquez. Suggs trying to close down Rebellon. Well to knock it out. Simply good to see Suggs back in, if only for what he brings intangibly to the field.
You and I had the opportunity to see his, say, the debut, if you will, in the second part of the season against Minnesota United. Was quite impressed with the 30-plus minutes he put in. Unfortunately, that trench had been dug a bit too deep already. And since then, Troy Lesesne feels that, yeah, he's back on track. Looks nice out on the left-hand side. And this is a guy that, when they picked him up last year, one of the initial signings, thought that it was one of the best ones you could get.
It's a nice idea from Sandoval. Moar had come charging forward.
It's that veteran leadership that comes off the back line. There's not many a time where you have a guy that can be the vocal, be the physical experience as well, and then combine that with these offensive exploits. And he talked about earlier on this season how his role is much different than what it was in the past. It's not what it was at Colorado Springs. And with the pickup of Sensi Moar on the left, he's had to take a back seat at times, and it's taken some adjustment. And he understands that though his role may be a bit different, it might be more impactful of what he's asked to do. It's a system that is much more suited to his ability to get up and down the field and also have coverage for him as well. And just the way that they've been able to really maintain possession as this season has gone on has been quite impressive. A team that was pretty direct at the beginning of the year, not the case anymore.
Becky plays it through, flag is up. Gebhard lets rip. Come up long before. I think what's notable, Devin, about that last play is for as much as they can play out of the back, the loss of Michak Jerome for a lengthy period of time, and Jerome Tolko is available tonight. I think will likely see the field against Portland, if not for a limited amount of time this evening. The two center backs for El Paso, they're the straw that stirs the drink here. You lose them, not only were they keeping clean sheets, you can start the offense. This is a slid away from Suggs. Corner coming, New Mexico.
Especially when you compress the field in that manner, where you're playing in a small space. You've got 21, obviously the goalkeeper, Forda all the way back, compressed into about a 60-yard area. So the distribution has to come from the likes of Andrew Fox and Drew Becky. Mark Lowry knows that, said that they are instrumental pieces to them. And if they can just find a way to get on the tail end of some of those crosses, he'll be quite happy.
Corner lined at Richie Ryan. See another. Corner, New Mexico United. And just a touch from Forda to deflect it away. of an hour gone. Injuries aside, these are about as top of lineups as you can make for these teams. Midweek fixture. Gebhard turning on the Jets. Salgado running down the middle. Gebhard continues. And Padilla launches it away. It's a nice first touch forward. A little tug. And a foul by Sandoval.
Devin Sandoval unnecessarily getting stuck in here. His team had come all the way back defensively. Good move by Rebellon on the right side just to pull back around. It's weak, yes, but still, it's in front of the referees. There was some impressive defensive work put in by Tete to thwart off the trailing run as Gebhard went far. Salgado trying to crash the party right around the penalty mark. Just a really good job of tracking all the way back. Dangerous opportunity here. They've been able to get Ross at the end of these and whip some nice service in. Though Sebastian Velasquez and magical left foot of his feels like he's going to have a say. Keep an eye though, just trailing right here. You've got Drew Becky playing the real high line. James Kiffey and Derek Gebhard all rotating right around each other. New Mexico United like to run this play on their offensive side where they spin off and let one of the big boys go all the way back in, bring it back across the 6.
It is Velasquez with the left peg. He did aim for Drew Becky, but he overhit it.
You kind of had an idea that El Paso was going to mimic the same thing we just saw on the other end. Unfortunately, that's that closure we talked about. They get themselves into these good spots and then just unnecessarily at times giving it away. Mark Lowry telling us that the woodwork has gotten in the way multiple times as well.
By the way, you see the Meow Wolf jerseys. Meow Wolf is an art collective in the region. I think a lot of people don't recognize what exactly that is if they're not from the Albuquerque area or frankly artistically inclined, because I'm certainly not.
So both of us.
Fair enough. But those black and gold jerseys have sold well. The new jersey they're going to be debuting next week. Wow, Forda comes out, grabs this as the sun begins to peek through.
Sold a massive amount of those units earlier on today. You and I were talking about how we'd love to get our hands on those. We're hoping we'd be able to see them tonight. Unfortunately, that didn't take place. And let us know that they still have double and triple XL as well as some children's sizes.
Those don't fit either of us.
Neither. No. It's not going to work out well. You see some of the glare starting to come in. Imagine what it's like for the goalkeepers.
Covered by New Mexico. Up by Guzman. It's funny, you were asking Peter Trevisani, the owner of the team, about when they were going to actually begin to use those. That was a poor touch by Padilla. Velasquez has taken over. Of course, he was at the owners' meetings in Orlando this week. Jetted back to be here in time for the game. Kiffey continues driving over the top. Gebhard.
It's the passion he brings. Little flight out, attend the owners' meeting, 6 a.m. flight to New Mexico. Try and make sure that he's got his boys on the radar. Unfortunately, the sonar wasn't working here for boys on the right. Great job by Kiffey, just allowing the momentum to handle its own. You can see that cross that he puts back across. Always going to be a difficult ask of Derek Gebhard up top. This has got to be a cutting ball right back to the top of the box. On the ground in general, when you put it that high, there's not enough room for the attacker to get enough leverage on it.
Mexico into the final third. Down goes Frater, and it is a New Mexico foul. This atmosphere, when they get it cranked up, is rarely paralleled in the championship. And the fact they've done this year one, become one of the most well-attended franchises in the league. I mean, this is really a booming endorsement for the state of this game in this country. Sandoval sends it to Forda.
Not sure that was going to ever have an issue with Forda. The linesman, of course, gets involved. And track back to the comments about owner Peter Trevisani. We were talking about the jerseys and, when's the release going to be? Okay, they're going to wear them on Saturday. We were obviously disappointed, but it was interesting to hear him talk about the environment, the culture, the venue, and some things like the jerseys, how there had been so much asked of them, they'd had success. I just said, where are your ideas coming from? Who are you guys working with? He said, to be honest, some of this is just fly by the seat of our pants. Figure it out as we go along. It's kind of similar to the sentiments you heard out of Troy Lesane when it came to this ridiculous stretch they had to go on in terms of league play and managing Open Cup run as well. Asked him if he had leaned on anybody in particular. No, not whatsoever. They just stuck to it. Band of brothers within the coaching staff. Felt like all of the experience they had in general, combined with the belief in themselves going forward, that they would have no trouble navigating troubled waters. That's how it worked out. They did quite well for themselves over, 6-week span?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. Many have failed.
Two offshoots to that. The first being there was a line down the street at the team store for these jerseys. And they're handing out flags, I read on Twitter, to some of the fans that were waiting in line. And the gist of the tweet is, this is why this organization and the city have gotten together so quickly. Little things like that, but also the fact that at the Open Cup game in Minnesota, they flew a charter flight, the help of a local sponsor, all the way to Minnesota, packed with fans. The lucky how many got to go?
I gotta go back into my notes for
the
this
lucky
one.
160,
lucky
I think.
180, lucky 180. Yeah, that was impressive.
Sandoval, another foul.
Interesting how on that run, by the way, that we were talking about culture and how things are being built in New Mexico, and obviously El Paso replicating that at their home squad. But the ability for Minnesota United fans to recognize what they were doing and really give it its due. They were complimentary, they helped them out, they brought out food and drinks to them and the traveling fans. I was beyond impressed by that. Just the ability to show the sportsmanship regardless of what the score was, or even before the game when they were still doing battle. That's what this country needs, and they're growing that, not just in New Mexico, but what's going on in El Paso, of course, as well in the 8th notch.
Quick restart, Gebhard! Tricky El Paso. Oh, it's all snoozing.
Derek Gebhard feels like maybe the goals are a bit different here than Southwest University Park. I think you'll find they're the same. Compared to your post back home, trying to pick out that far post. Just caught sleeping a little bit. Justin Schmidt has to find a way to get his boys organized a bit quicker. Cannot sleep. As we mentioned, they like to knock it side to side, but they can go forward with the best of them.
In the end, that Open Cup run had some serious thrillers along the way. Phoenix, Colorado Springs, Colorado Rapids, FC Dallas, and then it ended at the hands of Minnesota United. Incredible run. Minnesota United has that big manual scoreboard over their brew hall. Talking after the fact with Troy Lesane, he said one of those crystallizing moments was seeing their logo up on that giant manual scoreboard. They had it 3D printed the week of the game. Special moment. Stepping forward, Frater. Frater let it go. Will calmly come to Forda. Sends that Select ball away. Select, the official ball supplier of the USL Championship. Many of the finest leagues in the world since 1947. Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. In the 25th minute, New Mexico and El Paso identical records in their first year. The USL Championship, they are both in playoff position. And both have been the talk of the town at different times over the course of this year. El Paso at 1.9 games unbeaten, first in the Western Conference. New Mexico just weeks ago in the quarterfinal of the U.S. Open Cup. Earlier this year, they were in first in the Western Conference.
Santi Mora has swapped sides with Ken Akamatsu. Again, another look that didn't necessarily see earlier this year. Keep an eye on Juan Pablo Guzman in the middle of the field. He just took a nasty little whack from Sebastian Velasquez.
There is Velasquez. It's an interesting battle, he and Juan Pablo Guzman.
They've got their hands full right now. El Paso Locomotive in the middle of the field. Chris Wehan doing a very good job of just occupying space right now, not allowing them to play through. What's more impressive is the defensive work being employed by Devin Sandoval and Kevon Frater. Just keep an eye on them. There's a good look right now. Both very flat, not allowing that outlet pass coming through the middle. Who they're trying to find is that number 6 right there, Richie Ryan. They want to play off of each other, create that diamond to be more efficient in the middle of the field, and that's not what's happening. They're having to rotate back around outside. They're finding marginal success through James Kiffey, but they'd really like to find those two boys in the middle a bit more.
There goes Chapa. Luis Herrera. Smile from Chris Wehan as he backs off.
There were some quick words. I think that's the wrong battle you want to fight, buddy. I'm not going after Richie Ryan. Chris has got a lot behind him, but it's an uphill battle for me all the way.
Tail of the tape might not be all that different, but 34-year-old Richie Ryan has been scrapping for quite some time. Ryan, a high-priced acquisition in his previous stops. Slide in, came up short. Guzman. They vacated a bit of space here. Ross has found the open space on the opposite end. Rabillon falls in front. Velasquez nearly got that poke to send it by, instead picked up.
This is a good shout from Cody Mizell. He's trying to go quick. 7 boys in white jerseys from El Paso, really high. And he wanted the transition to go fast. They can't get it up fast enough, but Rebellon whips this one in. It's the first time Sebastian Velasquez has really got a touch in it. Inside of the 18, Derek Gebhardt has been the recipient of most of these. Just trying to find a way to get this to click a bit more. The switch initially by Akamatsu over to the left-hand side is quite interesting, and you're basically challenging James Kiffey to run at Santi Moar. That's going to be a fun little matchup. Nick Ross not pushing as high as normal. He's sitting right around the midfield mark and allowing James Kiffey to go after Santi Moar on the other side of things. Akamatsu and Rebellon are both sitting quite deep.
Akamatsu, Suggs, pushing way upfield. Rebellon can't contain him. Ryan, a simple play out of pressure. Frater pushing by, and it'll just sneak away. Drew Becky got in to separate the play.
There's a tiny little touch on the end of this on Kevon Frater as well. Keep an eye, not enough for a foul, but it just impedes his step just a little bit. Great little touch in between the two midfielders, right around Becky, right there. The left arm comes out, and then it's the slight hesitation by Frater, thinking that this tackle is gonna bring him down. The right leg box, the left leg gets away from him, and well done by the pressure from Forda to push it over the end line.
We were told by Troy Lassane that if we could figure out a way to shake the confidence of Kevon Frater, he would be interested to see. But you know what? We spoke with Rick Shantz at the end of last year before USL Championship final, and I do think they felt his confidence was a little shaken. When he plays, whether he scores or not, I think that's where the confidence, the swagger, comes into Kevon Frater.
Anybody who's a true out-and-out number 9 garners most of their offensive prowess on the pride that they can finish things off and that they can hit the back of the net. And unfortunately, he couldn't do it. 22 appearances, 3 goals to his name, a boatload of opportunity.
Suggs with a blast. That'll come off Becky.
And so much so that they believed in this kid. He struggled in form the entire season. And even at the end of the year, when there were other options there, Chris Cortez goes down. He still gets the nod in the starting position, just in front of Didier Drogba, to try and go win them a championship. It did not pan out. Good for him, though, that he's got a resurgence in form and an opportunity under this great squad, expansion franchise, to get back up.
When you say in front of Didier Drogba, not on the depth chart, slightly ahead of him on the field.
Correct, yeah, let's not get that twisted. Yeah.
Who'd have thunk Didier Drogba was holding Phoenix back? Not quite. Raiders' old team has gone on to continue their incredible run. Now 11 games on the bounce without a loss or a draw. The longest winning streak in league history. Pushed ahead. Weehan for Moar. Weehan. Moar! Oh, Forda made the stop. Point blank reaction saved by the young goalkeeper, making just his second start in Locomotive colors.
Mark Lowry knew exactly what he was getting out of Jermaine Forda. Has not worn the shirt on a regular basis. That goes to Logan Ketterer, doesn't matter. Second game in, watch this save. Right hand, point blank, beautiful, right on the end line. And this is where the Spaniard's at his best. Santi Moar closes that out 9 times out of 10. Credit to the Englishman.
It's kind of hard to see him behind all that traffic. He's listed a little over 6 foot. We were told that might be an exaggeration. We've seen that play before from New Mexico. They were trying to line that up for Suggs.
It's really well done, though. That's the movement that Troy Lesesne is looking for. You get a one-on-one isolated situation with Santi Moar. It actually starts with a great step in the middle of the field. Chris Weehan, he continues the run. Santi Moar pulls the runners into the field and just allows that outside channel space to be occupied. Repays the favor. Gets the second one back, if not for a great save by the goalkeeper. That's 1-0 New Mexico United.
You know, there was a video about Jermaine Forda at the start of the year. Came in as an invitational trialist. Jermaine Forda didn't even know he'd been signed when the meeting started, but his nameplate had been placed over the locker, and for any trialist, that's the nod. You've made it.
All the boys in the locker room had that fun little grin going on. Everybody was in on it except him. Great little video as well, and finally stands up. Didn't even notice it the first time. Took him a couple looks. Some fun little laughs around the dressing room before he realized that he was the brunt of all the attention. Then he turned around and realized, hey, no, I don't see anything else. Took him 3 and 4. Even more fun.
There's a great piece about him on the local TV station, El Paso, as young goalkeeper as well, a journalism major. Becky went down. He's still stretching out that leg a bit.
Just knocking knees with Kevon Frater. It's the right to the left. It's a good look at Becky. Picked up a knock earlier this year. Had to come out for a few games. That was actually a head injury that they took a few matches to get him back. Finally, a guy that Mark Lowry will obviously know all too well with his time at Jacksonville.
Tete. Schmidt. There's Tete again. He struggled a bit. Only a couple games this year, but El Paso was one of them. I do feel like Tete has the ability in the long run to play highest level in this country.
This is one of those moves that I talked about where they bring Juan Pablo back, they drop him in between Justin Schmidt and Tete. And a lot of times you'll see the outside backs get really high. That's not exactly what they do here. They pull Suggs and Manny Padilla into the middle of the field and overload the central units. That makes it that much harder for an El Paso Locomotive midfielder.
Suggs lifted back across, brought down Akamatsu. He goes down, Ross. And a penalty. Well, New Mexico has felt of late that they have conceded too many of those. Paso made that same claim.
This all came from their ability to utilize that space we just talked about. Notice Josh Suggs sitting on the interior. He allows that run by Santimoar to dissect the back line. Ball gets all the way to the end. When it gets cut back across, does he impede the movement of the attacker? Going for a strike to take a touch out in front of him? 100%. Nick Ross gets it wrong. The referee gets it right. New Mexico United an opportunity from the spot just before halftime.
Garcia, the referee, appears correctly imposing himself, and Ross remains down. Injury to insult. And big moment there for Ken Akamatsu to draw that. He is yet to score this year, but the 24-year-old player from Japan has given New Mexico a chance to jump in front.
To be clear here, some El Paso fans at home might not be happy. They might feel like their player was out in front. A very similar situation happened in the previous Lou City game against Loudoun United, as their man is still down. Taylor Pay had an opportunity on the end line, cut back across, and the Loudoun United player established position in front of the attacker. It wasn't just a chop down from behind. They were shoulder to shoulder. He got in front of him, and the referee made a great no call. Situation here is flipped because the defender cannot get out in front of the run by Akamatsu. Instead, he's trying to take another touch. It's a foot from behind. It is definitely a penalty. That's not a look you're going to want to see if you're Mark Lowry. It is still a tackle in the box, a rough one to deal with for Nick Ross. Just hoping that you can get him back on to the pitch immediately. You can see a bit tentative, his efforts, stretching both those legs out, asking for thumbs up, thumbs down, tells the trainer, I'm okay, give me a second. And now Frater, he has roofed some of these with a tremendous amount of power.
He's got no scouting report on Jermaine Forda. Frater to give New Mexico the lead. Matches his career high. He's got a dozen on the year. Frater back onto the score sheet. New Mexico back in front at home.
Always difficult for the goalkeeper when you keep your legs this wide open and then watch the hips at the tail end. He knows exactly what he's doing. Brings it all the way back across his body. Jermaine Forda tries to guess here, but the momentum and power behind Kevon Frater, bringing it all the way back across, makes it that much more difficult to track. A guy who we said coming in, both he and Santimoar have to find a way to get this team back on the score sheet. That ball coming back into Akamatsu came from the likes of Santimoar. The closure from Frater. And it's only his second goal since the start of the month of June. A stat that Troy Lesane will be happy to see go by the wayside, and they can start a new streak of their own.
As the 9th game he's scored in this year, they are unbeaten when Frater scores in the league. 4 wins, 4 draws. Also had 3 goals in the Open Cup. And in the end, when he scored, they advanced all 3 times. Dallas, Colorado, and Colorado Springs. That'll get away, celebrating its 10th episode. It's a milestone, Evan. U.S. soccer legend Landon Donovan and USL San Diego co-owner Warren Smith joined Steele Sometime, hosted by Kelsey Steele and Scott Stewart. An insight, the USL's newest club, catching up on all the latest news around the league as well. Listen to Steal some time on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe today. They're two honest lads.
Just saw recently that with the meetings going on, the All-Star break taking place as well, the USL headquarters was gracious enough to host Landon Donovan. Made his way over to Tampa area. Don't remember getting that invitation in the mail, but Landon and I aren't on speaking terms right now, nor have we ever been.
Right, exactly. USL Championship Final 2022. See you there, Landon. Freighter. Herrera finally whistled for the foul. You knew it was coming. Yellow card.
The big jump up here from Richie Ryan. Didn't like the initial push that came in the middle, and unfortunately Nick Ross is done for the night.
On comes Yuma.
Substitution brought to you by REBW.
Herrera picks up the yellow card.
For El Paso, number 24, Yuma. For number 8, Nick Ross.
Ross came out after the play in which he conceded the penalty. Salvez in.
Veteran will continue on his illustrious career, though the pace might slow down a little bit here. Don't be surprised, as you can already see an immediate movement coming. Yuma has pushed himself in. Sebastian Velasquez looks like he's playing a bit higher with a formation movement. Chapa all the way on the left-hand side now.
Nakamatsu, who drew that previous penalty, finds Padilla. Padilla cuts it in front, looking for Sandoval. Richie Ryan on the wrong end of that. This midfield is getting battered right now.
Even more troublesome. He reaches right away after this knock gets hit. Keep an eye. Top of the 18. It's knee to knee. That'll leave a mark for sure. And he immediately knows his body is not in good shape. Chapa really struggling with that matchup with Ken Akamatsu. He and Santimo are jumping side to side right now, constantly testing this defensive unit. As I mentioned before, the midfield was struggling to keep up with all the ever-changing runs, and now Nick Ross going out, and you can see the pain on the face of Richie Ryan, just really struggling with the previous knock he just took.
There's some pretty large numbers floated around about his transfer fee. And he moved on from Jacksonville. Ultimately ended up in Cincinnati last year, and talking with Alan Koch during the season, he just said he's the one who raises our standard around here. And at the age of 34, El Paso, an expansion team, a coach that he knew, everything lined up just right for him to make this his home for 2019. He's explaining just that knee-to-knee contact he had experienced. He really hasn't gotten on the ball all that much tonight. Ross was the one I think New Mexico is more comfortable letting set the table a little bit in midfield.
That's the way he had tucked himself in, and what you're seeing there is the deep defensive unit of Kevin Sandoval and Kevon Freighter are making it so that Richie Ryan has almost become obsolete in the middle. Sebastian Velasquez is dropping back out of that comfort zone we talked about, 20, 30 yards from where he needs to be honest. This is the attacking role they want to get after him with, and they can't find him. So he's coming deeper. Richie Ryan is then in turn either dropping in behind Freighter and Sandoval, making his movement forward impossible, or the ball's just going directly to Sebastian Velasquez. You can kind of see a look of the way that they're inverting things right now, where they've taken Chapa, moved him inside. Salgado has now come out to the left. They're just rotating things around a bit more. This guy's playing a bit higher of a line.
Weehan had done some real magic, but in the end, it turned it over. Gebhard. Velasquez, tight quarters. Look at how far back Devin Sandoval is chasing the ball here. 5 minutes at a time in this first half. Richie Ryan plugs it up right after coming out with an injury a moment ago. And there were times where he was standing in space and he was pointing to the next line. He didn't touch the ball, but he might as well have. Richie Ryan. Pushed out by Yuma. Yuma at the feet of Salgado. Went down too easily. Floated into this makeshift center back role. And all the injuries that El Paso's faced of late. Velasquez. Salgado. Salgado trying to pull that ball through. Simply got gummed up in the works.
This has got to be a first-time ball back to Sebastian Velasquez. You cannot take 2 and 3 touches. There's not enough space. And of course, the back line just compresses so quickly.
Kiffy. Oh, bouncing down. Looks like Mizell got tripped up a bit. Goal kick. I think El Paso's beside themselves here. Salgado's actually down on his knees there afterward. Assuming that was a corner.
Cody Mizell took a little spill on the backside of things. He's got a little limp in his step as well. Sebastian Velasquez. Saw Richie Ryan moments ago. Of course, the substitution by Nick Ross. Steps Yuma. Changing the shape just a little bit here. They're starting to allow the central midfielders, Monsalves and Chapa, to just almost turn it into a 4-3-3 of sorts. The difference is the outsides and the likes of Omar Salgado and Derek Gebhard aren't pushing too wide, not just yet. It seems that James Kiffy still wants to have a say there. And Rebellon is almost non-existent in their movement going forward on the right-hand side.
Frater in pursuit. He tried to turn on that. But lost in an effort to get forward by Ryan. Look at the speed of Weehan. Sent back to the penalty spot for Mowar. It's a throw for New Mexico. He grabbed the lead in the 38th minute, a Frater penalty. They're looking for more before the halftime break.
It's quite easy for us to go after Santi Mowar or Yvonne Frater, but how about Chris Weehan showing off the wheels a little bit? Again, another nice defensive step by Weehan coming out of the middle of the field. It's really causing problems for El Paso right now. It's that 3- and 4-man step. I talked to you about that before the Minnesota United game, how I was so impressed about how this literal press on the offensive side has come together for New Mexico United, throwing 3, 4, 5 at a team at certain points in time.
The more I watch this, the more I think that the X factor is the fact that when you have Weehan further back, as opposed to where he had to play when Frater was missing. Ball slid away from Mowar, and it sets up nicely. Doesn't quite come off the right way. He's that last guy in that makes it even more difficult to defend for a team when New Mexico gets out in transition.
There's too much speed. I mean, they've got so much speed in general. You clog it with big bodies. You allow guys like Juan Pablo and Chris Weehan to just read the play and just keep an eye exactly where they're situated in the middle of the field. They're always pretty flat with each other. And if not, if one of them is dropping off, there's depth from another position in the field. So when Juan Pablo drops into the back line next to Justin Schmidt and Tete, like he's doing now, rotating back out, space then is occupied in the middle by the likes of Josh Suggs. So if one player's rotating out, there's still space to be occupied. And there's great communication between all of them. Manny Padilla now getting involved in the act. And you can see Josh Suggs, their outside left back, is playing the 6th spot right now. This is a far cry from what you saw first, second game of the season.
Halftime. Kevon Frater, number 12 for number 10. Back on the score sheet, precisely what New Mexico needed. Nothing that Jermaine Forta could do. A penalty in the 38th. When we come back, we'll show you the newest addition to the El Paso family. We'll show you highlights, stats, and news from around the league. Meow Wolf jerseys everywhere. It seemingly always is that way now in Albuquerque. 2 expansion teams, both play such a beautiful brand of the game. The penalty, the difference maker. Highlights, stats, more coming up after the break. New Mexico 1-0 lead, and both these teams have welcomed thousands and thousands of new fans of their franchise over the last 12 months since they came into existence and since the beginning of this year, one in which both see great success. Wednesday Night Soccer, Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Devin, how about we just throw a little bit of love to a new member of the El Paso Locomotive family, fans from a lot of different teams. Really excited for Sebastian. Welcome to Sofia.
His new baby girl, Sophia, had the opportunity to interview him recently, and you could hear the emotion behind he and his family and their trip to South Korea and then coming back to the States, how it just means everything to him. An opportunity to spend some time with his new baby girl and then had to get right back to work. But I'll tell you what, Mark Lowry was just beyond impressed about how this young man has situated himself with great pieces around him to have success that he's had both in the past and going forward.
We were told he was adamant he wanted to play in this game, and so he did. We hear mom and baby are both doing well. Devin, how many honest lads are on the podcast that you had him on?
45. 3. Just
three honest
lads.
That's it. 1-0 to New Mexico. How about our next game of the week? We're back on ESPN News. Sacramento and Las Vegas.
Now get some time. Sam Warner, the beauty. From distance, on the way and in! Goal, Las Vegas Lights! And Taylor with a beautiful strike. Are you kidding? Dead will go for goal! Oh my goodness!
Gents, hey, keep moving forward here. I feel like we're close, but it's all about the process. Make sure you're doing the little things right.
It's part of the community. I think it's not a mistake that you drive anywhere in the city and you'll see the Red Kickers K. I was certainly honored to play for the club and understand it's just a part of the city.
We're the longest continuously run professional soccer team in the country, which is pretty cool. We had Charleston Battery beat by one day. We played on a Friday night in '93. They played on a Saturday. We take great pride in that.
There's a really good structure in place, and there has been a really good structure in place for a long time now, even from when I was back here as a youth player. The coaching staff, the culture, the way things are done at the Kickers is at the highest level. Everyone's committed, everyone's 100% in.
We have a really strong locker room and everybody really wants to do well for the club, and they believe in me and believe in the club and respect the history that we have as a club. So it's been a lot of fun so far, just kind of getting this group together.
Richmond Kickers are currently in 9th in USL League One, but they are starting to find themselves a bit. They got a ways to go there to make a playoff push. Meanwhile, in the championship, Wednesday Night Soccer, New Mexico United and El Paso are both fighting for 4th place with a win here tonight at the Lab with Devin Kerr. Mike Watts, here are some news and notes from around the USL Championship. The Rising continue to rise. 11 straight wins, Dev.
33 points. And to give you an idea of the separation, there were a couple other teams that were on a nice run as well. Reno had a say in it, Fresno, and Real Monarchs as well. Los Angeles Galaxy too are doing well for themselves. Regardless, the West starting to shape itself out. Wednesday Night Soccer right around the corner. You and I were both keen on Hartford Athletic and really what they're doing for the cultural community in general. This is now going global, hosting the Puerto Rican national team on August 17th. Lovely cause. Go check it out.
Brilliant. Well, we talk about how well Phoenix is doing. Why don't we give you a better idea of how the last 7 games have allowed the West to begin to pull apart?
And how about where the other teams that have slacked off currently sit? So it gives you an idea for New Mexico and El Paso right now. Only 5 and 6 points respectively in their last 7 matches, yet they're still in 5th and 6th. That gives you an idea of how good their start was. But outside of Portland Timbers too, they are traveling far behind compared to OKC, Los Dos, and you just start to move your way up. Phoenix Rising, of course, the only one here that is unbeaten their past 7. Of course, that is 11. Still an interesting schedule for them to play out. They travel to Los Dos this weekend.
There are 2 teams that are missing there, Devin, who I think a lot of people thought would be above the line. Wednesday Night Soccer next week, Sacramento and Eric Winalda's Las Vegas Lights trying to get it in gear. It's a late kick.
They struggled in their last game, and that's putting it kindly. Eric Winalda said, we have to be better. Our composure got away from us. Some of the inner demons from the 2018 season came back into it. How about Simon Elliott's squad? Felt like everything had started to figure itself out right when they hit that Open Cup run, but that is not the case anymore. Only 1 win in their previous 5. More importantly, they've got 3 losses in that same time frame.
And we'll be at Louisville, at North Carolina, and at Las Vegas, Cashman Field, all coming up in the next month and a half on Wednesday Night Soccer. Tonight, it is a brilliant crowd watching their beloved New Mexico United, despite it being their first year. So much pride, so much belief. They've got a lead at the half. We got highlights coming up.
sure to listen to the Jim Delanucci Show weekdays 4 until 7 on ESPN Radio 1017 The Team. New Mexico owned and operated in your flagship radio station for New Mexico United Soccer. ESPN Radio 1017 The Team. Hey fans, want to score top dollar selling your house? Visit Whitebird Realtors Image in Champions Corner, Section 125. Register to win a prize at spin4united.com. Then head to Section 125 to claim it. New Mexico United would like to thank our community business package holders. Radiology Associates of Albuquerque, La Imprenta, Slip Finish Resurfacing, Sun City.
Wednesday night soccer from Albuquerque, and you can see just how many fans came in on a Wednesday night in central New Mexico with Devin Kerr, Mike Watts. And New Mexico United holds a 1-0 lead at the break. Let's take a look at your halftime highlights. And we begin with El Paso going to work through James Kiffey on the left.
I said early on that really like the relationship that is the left-sided attack for El Paso Locomotive, but could they find a way to get both involved? That wasn't the case. James Kiffey very active in the opening 45 minutes. Unfortunately, nothing to show for it. Another one of those opportunities where he gets all the way down into the final third, and as he knocks this to the back post, doesn't really give anybody an opportunity to get to it. Not paying attention, quick little restart. Very clever here by Richie Ryan. This was obviously about 30 minutes before he went down to ground. Derek Gebhardt trying to find the far post, couldn't do it. This is one of the best opportunities they would have. You'd see something similar on the goal. All starts from we had on the press. Santimora repays the favor down in the channel, and he just waits. Watch him pick out this space in between the trailing run of Andrew Frox. And there's a good look at Chapa coming all the way back in. William trying to pick out the Spaniard. Beautiful save by Jermaine Forda. We would continue on 0-0. This is where the goal would come from. All of it started in the middle of the field. It initially comes from the likes of Juan Pablo. It gets sprays out all the way to Santimar. He then sees Josh Suggs. Josh Suggs allows this. He steps on it for a second, plays it down in, back across to Moar. They go to ground. It's 100% a penalty on Akamatsu. And Kevon Frater says that is 100% my 12th goal of the season. A dozen for the Jamaican, and they are out in front by one. Wasn't overwhelming in possession for New Mexico. They didn't care. They had the better chances. Still, both squads overloading one side. Better teams in better form will start to pick them off. You need to find a way to have a better balance.
El Paso, the lion's share of the possession, problem being only 2 shots. That has typically not been their issue during this 6-game winless streak, which they've only managed 2 goals in that span. How about upcoming schedules? New Mexico United, you mentioned earlier, Devin, a ton of home games to close out the year. Gives them a lot of confidence. It begins with Austin, so even if they don't win here today, they have a chance to go catch them in the standings.
Some pretty tough opposition, though, they're going to have to take on. Austin Bold, you already mentioned, and fortunately enough for them, Austin Bold is a very different team on the road than they are at home. T2, we talked about their form. They are at the bottom of that talking point when it comes to points above the playoff line. Low-Stow streaking. San Antonio FC doing quite nicely for themselves as well. And have we finally seen Braden Cloutier and Orange County turn a corner? Lovely performance against Reno. They were the only team midweek that got points that did not lose on the weekend.
Meanwhile, how about El Paso Locomotive's upcoming schedule? Timbers 2, a team that's in great decline, and then at Phoenix. They can make a real statement.
That Phoenix game, that will be the one. Not only would it be taking down a team that could be 12 wins in at that point, you're going to have to do it at Casino Arizona Field. They are unbeaten dating back to last season in the fall. Tacoma Defiance, that should be 3 points. At RGV, we have talked about this before. This is one of the more difficult places to play in all the USL Championship. And of course, Tulsa Roughnecks and Michael Insian, they are struggling to find their form that we saw earlier on this season in the Western Conference.
So busy upcoming slates in the month of August. Kevon Frater back on the score sheet. It was an internal decision for him to sit in the most recent game for New Mexico. That was a 2-1 win at Sacramento, a game in which they felt like they had eliminated most of the Republic's chances. They led They conceded that lead. They were thinking, let's just get out of here without giving up a point. In the end, they get a Daniel Bruce game winner, the 89th, at a very difficult place to play. For El Paso of late, Devin, we talked with Mark Lowry. He said, look, we've had 70 crosses and 40 shots in the last couple of games. We feel like we haven't gotten everything we've deserved out of it, including 3 points they thought they should have gotten in the 0-0 draw against El Monarchs. In reality, statistically, 42 open play crosses, 38 shots, only 7 on target. Again, we saw a lot of crosses, a lot of decent looks. Nothing to actually show for it, though.
It's a team that has 8 games this year, multi-goal games. Unfortunately for them, they'd like that to be a bit more frequent. At some point in time, though, the statistics and everything have to go by the wayside. You're going to start becoming what you don't want to be, and that's exactly where they're headed right now.
Moar right out of the halftime break with the cross. Lifted away. Wean outrun for this. That was a ball aimed right at Frater. Salgado. Salgado, a human embodiment of a brick house. Rebellon. Ryan picked up that knock in the first half but stayed on. Nick Ross was injured in the first half. Yuma came on in his stead. It's the only change that's been made in this game. Let's slip back to Mizell.
Right out of the gates, there's the step once again. Santi Moar felt like he was going to just trying to knock it in, find somebody right place, right time. Frater felt like he had a say in this argument. Guess who? Richie Ryan go the other direction. And the shape from El Paso Locomotive once again just taking a bit of a twist here. Richie Ryan playing on the bottom portion of a inverted triangle here. Yuma and Chapa sitting just in front of him, and they've really started to move Seba a bit further up the field. Marcel Gatto and Derek Gebhardt starting to widen things out. That's a look that they need to go after. Have to find a way to utilize the channels much better, especially on this right-hand side. New Mexico United have figured out that the game plan is to run things through James Kiffey and try and overload the left. They've done that defensively and made it that much more difficult for the boys in the white jerseys to play out on the right.
Meehan cross field, intercepted. Ryan is in really tight quarters. Ball for Moar, slide by Yuma. Paso has only lost once in their 9 road games so far. It's a team that was on top of the world, 9 unbeaten, 6 wins in that span, and then over the last 6 have only managed 3 points, all by way of draw. Gebhardt. Gebhardt lost it between his feet under the pressure of Guzman, who now won it. Holy moly, a local fan exclaims. There's a little more after the fact.
Sebastian Velasquez down in the corner, doing battle with Juan Pablo Guzman. Just good look at Logan Ketterer. He's now out of our viewpoint, but he threw his hands up in disgust, didn't agree with our referee. Unfortunate, as El Paso had pretty much pinned them deep in their own area.
Richie Ryan was shown a yellow card in the aftermath. Second player playing on a yellow, Herrera the other for El Paso. Frater. So run Moar outside of the penalty area, but he lines it back up. Moar! And Richie Ryan is there to break up play. Corner New Mexico, and the crowd adores it.
Bit of frustration coming in by Santi Moar. He knows eventually someone's got to get in on the one of these. Rebellon gets turned right around. Gets it on that right foot of his. He's got two boys coming to the near post. One of them has to back off. It was too crowded of an area.
Corner, New Mexico. This is the lone game of the night in the championship. Tomorrow, only one game, Bethlehem and Hartford. Over on ESPN Plus, that's a 5 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Moar again showing off now. And Ryan is there to stymie Moar once again.
Santi Moar having an absolute field day on this left side right now, where Rebion got his hands full. Sebastian Velasquez doesn't necessarily do any help to what's going on here. The tracking back, Josh Suggs doing a good job bringing him out of the space that was in the middle, made the midfielder question his spot.
Moar. That ball took a defensive flick backward. Another corner. Forda throws his arms out to his side. New Mexico would like to get a little more out of this than their last few. Sometimes their best play, Devin, isn't necessarily to play it over the penalty spot off these.
Change things up now. Mark Lowry has obviously done his homework on what's being thrown at them. Talked about that long run peeling to the back post. Give them something else. Same story, different day. And good job by Ryan Rebion just stepping, pushing it out, and recollect your thoughts. And that's one of the ones where you have so many players that are technically gifted. Why not go after it a little bit? You've got Josh Suggs with the left-footed in-swinger. Have Santi Moar run over there with him, Chris Wehan, and play off him. You get a 2-3 man game. All of you can go direct at the goal, but also serve one back up across if you want to.
Yuma. Tete. Gebhard pursued. It's a 4-game Friday night where the two best games are probably on the Eastern Conference. Ottawa, Birmingham, Red Bull 2 in St. Louis.
Ottawa picking up Haji Berry. How about that acquisition? That attack just got a bit more lively. Not that it needed to be. I'll tell you what, earlier on this year, a lot of people were kind of cocking their heads, second-guessing the conversation they had with Carl Howarth in the USL Championship. He said, we're going to be relevant. We're making a playoff run. I promise you we will go deep this year. It's starting to ring true. They look nice.
Yeah. They play at times a really beautiful brand of the game. That's certainly their goal. And Birmingham Legion all of a sudden is starting to look like a team that's to be reckoned with. Curling effort is caught by Mizell. And of course for Birmingham coming without Chandler Hoffman, who injured his knee. He's done for the year, which is a massive loss for them, even though he really never did get the wheels turning this season.
Well, he didn't get his first goal from the run of play till June.
Yeah.
And that was just always going to be troublesome. Of course, speedy recovery to Chandler Hoffman, a guy who needs no recognition in terms of what he's done for this league. We're going to give it to him anyway. And as the Legion are calling it their summer of soccer with these consecutive points, good for them.
Those games airing on ESPN Plus. You can get updates and alerts all year long by following your club over on ESPN.com. You can search for El Paso Locomotive, New Mexico United, or any team. Click the follow button, keep up latest news and scores, plus get reminders of your team's next match. Go to ESPN.com now, click follow for your club. Pushed ahead by Andrew Fox. And the cross toward Gebhard cut out by Tete.
It was really well done on the back line by Rashid Tete. Derek Gebhardt making that very smart near post run. James Kiffey once again whipped in, and it's going to be right on the right foot of Derek Gebhardt if it gets through. Again, the center back stepping up to the task.
Cross lifted, header, punched away Mizell. Second effort, lifted back Herrera. Mizell holds on to this now. Acrobatic header back toward Mizell. Was looping toward the upper corner.
You always wonder with your goalkeeper, when these balls hit this gray area, the second one comes out, he's in the midst of a boatload of traffic. You would like this punch to be a bit more horizontal, away from the run of play, but he still gets a hand on it. I don't mind it at the end of the day. There's a lot of traffic in front of him. It could have come back to bite him, but good job by Cody Mizell recognizing he could not pick it up, just pushes it away.
Mizell, a few years ago, goalkeeper of the year finalist for Charlotte, was rewarded with a contract at Tampa Bay, and with the change in coach mid-season, brought in Daniel Vega, who's now at San Jose, leading Matias Almeida's resurrection of the Earthquakes. Left Mizell out in the cold. Troy Lesane, the head coach for New Mexico, was an assistant on that team in Charlotte. He's happy to bring him into the fold. Padilla. Guzman, Sandoval, and a foul there. Becky, he's shown a yellow. Three El Paso players right now on yellows.
Drew Becky gets himself into trouble, coming very far off this back line. And he had the mark that he had to travel with. Nice little touch around by Guzman and going to ground. Just unnecessary here. Do not need to leave your feet. I understand your desire to win the ball, but they're going nowhere except backwards. Instead, an opportunity for New Mexico United. Quality sportsmanship there at the end of it. But a good chance now to employ some of those efforts we talked about, where maybe just switch things up a little bit. Look at the far post run by Manny Padilla. That was just wide open. You have a chance. You've got the left foot of Josh Suggs here. Just a quick little peeling out run. From this distance, if Chris Wehan wants to beat him, it's got to be something special to go past Forda. You're looking at about 40 yards. The good news is it's right in the middle, so the goalkeeper will not be the benefactor of a thick wall.
Wehan did get off the wall and will lead to a corner.
This New Mexico United corner kick brought to you by Crown Plaza Albuquerque.
7-1 corners in this game. New Mexico has done almost nothing with theirs. This time around, chance to strike it on the first time. And slowly leaking through. Tete kept it alive. Found Wehan. What do you do now in the run of play on the reset? Lifted up back post and gets out.
This is a really good idea by Wehan. Wants to get Devin Sandoval. They both made eye contact. Unfortunately, there is the deflection that then sprays it over the end line. And as you can see with the referee, linesman has the flag up on the second ball coming back through. Offside called. And the only difference that you'll see out of Jermaine Forda and Logan Ketterer, and you can understand based upon the lack of repetitions for the goalkeeper, is his ability to play quick and play out of the back. That's something that he really recognized from Logan Ketterer, was his ability in the system that he was at previously to put the ball down on the deck and just knock it around a little bit. Of course, Logan Ketterer under the tutelage of now national team head coach Rick Berhalter, who likes his goalkeepers to play. Mark Lowry, no experience with him, but wanted the same thing going forward.
Long diagonal, chested back, picked up by Forda.
That's the quick distribution he wants. Quick ball into the midfielder, and then they play out. You just have to be careful that when this ball comes back across, Yuma, to be fair, puts his outside back in trouble. And then Frater gets a little step on the knee when he comes back through here. And it's the second one right there. I'll tell you what, watch the right foot of Frater. Just standing up over the top of him. He pulls out at the end of it, and you just wonder, is that a balance or a bit of negligence creeping back in? Regardless of what you feel, that's, tell you what, we've seen it multiple times between these two squads where there's been some rough challenges put in. Never have we seen an argument ensue. Everybody standing up, showing that they are quality competitors, being very professional on the reverse side of things.
Frater actually went through the indignity, I suppose, of a road swing in which he went to both games. He flew with the team to Minnesota in the U.S. Open Cup. He'd been suspended for yellow card accumulation there, then went on to Fresno with the team, where he also was unable to play because of yellow card accumulation.
Troy Lesesne did follow it up and say that we felt like he had done so much for us so far that he was one of the guys that we felt deserved that trip. He needed to experience it, whether he was going to be on the playing field or not. Again, another testament to what this organization has built and the path that they want to continue down. Evan Sandoval going to ground for the third time this second half. That body's starting to get roughed up.
Sandoval the target this time. Ultimately, Lesesne told us his yellow cards at times sort of a statement of the passion he brings. Those things happen on the field. Frater creating a corner here.
You can hear the fans really getting up for it right now. 62nd minute. They were hot for about 5-7 to start the second half, but they haven't been as imposing as we've seen them before. Now's an excellent opportunity to go out and give this home squad and cheering section just behind Jermaine Forta what they've been looking for.
Defensive header won by Yuma. Hard help to keep it. Ball chipped ahead by Rebellon was taken away off the deflection. Weehan played it forward. Sandoval trying to be clever. Mowar working behind him.
That's one where just keep it simple. He had the 1-2 with Weehan on, then could have received it back, to be honest, instead flicking it back behind him, and that's sometimes where New Mexico United can get themselves in trouble. They try and be too tricky. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to be fully direct. You can have a little fun, but when the outside backs have pushed themselves high, and you have the ability to play in this space, just take it. They're giving you the option. Run right at them.
Salgado. Stab to get that ball away after the initial challenge. Frater slows it down. He can quickly turn the Jets back on, but can't here. Yuma plays it back for New Mexico. First home game since June the 8th. They did draw in a friendly against Cardiff City July the 18th. Of course, that one didn't count in the standings. This is just their third home game since Cinco de Mayo. And they had that thrilling 3-0 win against San Antonio. Well, Paso, meanwhile, has been amazing on the road. They've only lost once. feel like that little extra time, that little extra camaraderie, a little extra video, everybody talking amongst each other only adds ability to work that chemistry away from home. And in a run where they haven't gotten great results, but at times have created chances as well as anybody. They have struggled to break down New Mexico tonight, maybe more than any opponent they've seen in recent weeks.
Mark Lowry on the near touchline screaming that this ball has not sprayed all the way out to the left side. You can just see the movements coming, taking that much longer. Finally makes its way out. And a bad pass by Chapa. It just seems to be the tail of the tape here in the second half for the visitors.
To Gebhardt. Rebellon, last year at Swope Park, native of Colombia. Before that was in Jacksonville, Mark Lowry. With LA Galaxy too. Ryan.
Just look at the middle of the field once again. Sebastian Velasquez coming just 5 yards outside of the center circle, and the attacking option just isn't there for them. Mexico United once again overcrowding the middle of the field. You can see Richie Ryan just sitting in the center circle right now, but if the ball comes to him, he has no options moving forward.
Ball sliced across and sent back toward goal. Mizell reaches back, gobbles it up.
It's a good ball knocked all the way back outside. One of the first true threats we've seen out of Brian Rebellon on the right side. Everything through Kiffey on the left. And he gets himself high, but even when he gets the touchback across, there's nobody crashing in on the second ball coming through and challenging Cody Mizell. It was too easy for the goalkeeper.
Guzman. Frater almost posts up like LeBron James, waiting for the shot clock to tick down before he turns on goal. Carmelo Anthony, you get them. Padilla. Frater hadn't made the run. Suggs bodied off by Omar Salgado, the first signing for El Paso last year on loan to Las Vegas. Yuma pushed it ahead, and this cracked in front. Big rebound. Mizell is there. Rebounded in a way that zigged away from the zag of Salgado.
Past 3 minutes better from El Paso Locomotive. That's really the look they want going forward. Yuma finding a way to get Derek Gebhardt involved. He was the one who seemed to be the bright light in the first half. Omar Salgado carried the torch at the start of the second. Unfortunately, it's that one look in the span of 2-3 minutes that you're starting to see again. Can you find a way to make it a 2-3 4-man game? That was the question coming into the match. How much they had created in the final third and just their lack of production to go after a goalkeeper. Much of the same here against New Mexico United.
Edson Partida, who's on loan from Toluca. Liga MX coming on. And with Sebastian Velasquez, who's making his way off toward the bench. Wondered how many minutes he could give. Sandoval coming off, Muhammad coming on. Hussein simply trying to keep this scoreline as is, the way the game has progressed.
This is one of the really cool things that you get out of the composition of the roster from New Mexico United, where you can bring on Salim Muhammad. You can let Kevon Frater go play high up, be the lone point man. Slide Chris Wehan just underneath, and then take your brand new substitute, overpower the center of the field.
Mowar heads it down, Wehan in pursuit. Ryan throws his shoulder in there to provide that last little bit of separation. Sebastian Contreras has come on as well for El Paso. It's on the ball now, 10 in white. Gosh, for all those keeping at home, your scorebook is a mess right now. Trying to figure out all these changes. Lifted away from Salgado. You can tune in to ESPN News August the 7th. Wednesday Night Soccer features two sides fighting to get back above the playoff line. Sacramento hosts Las Vegas. The playoff battle heating up. Crucial 3 points on the line. See it all August the 7th. 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Pacific on Wednesday Night Soccer on ESPN News. Mexico just went to Sacramento and got 3 points, which means Las Vegas has an even bigger hill to climb, because I can't remember the last time Sacramento has ceded 6 points in 3 weeks at Papa Murphy's Park.
Nice little spark coming in the form of Sebastian Contreras, the Argentine, starting to make amends for the fact that he started on the bench. Some quality energy coming out of him in the middle of the field that harnessed that a little bit.
Suggs pushing on, lifted up toward Weehan, bounces in front, Weehan turns and scores! New Mexico is cooking.
And the way that the play was breaking down, Josh Suggs wanted this back. He asked multiple times. Great run coming from the left. Just splitting the entire back line, but it all came down to the goalkeeper. How would things play out? There's the look you get out of Frater when he plays the lone point man. As he steps back in, he draws so many players with him. There's not enough personnel trailing. Drew Becky coming into your picture at the tail end of it. How about Weehan? He wants it up in the air the entire time. The tracking run goes with Josh Suggs. It's not the first or the second, but the third, when Jermaine Forda cannot pick this up. As a goalkeeper, you have to know better. You come with authority. We saw it earlier out of Cody Mizell. Forda gets it wrong. New Mexico United have 2.
And El Paso has seen the curse of New Mexico. Everybody now seems to have their rudder back in the water, steered in the right direction for this United side. It has been quite homesick for the last 2 months. Chance to close out July with a potentially massive win to move into 4th. 2-goal lead now against El Paso, who look to respond in kind.
You have to recognize the fact that they are sitting in a lead. My reference going now is back to the May 12th matchup where it was 1-1. But the final 25 minutes of that game were absolutely out of this world. 4 cards, 2 reds, and 2 goals.
To lash that back by Rebayon, who's become far more offensively minded. Heads this down as it was kept in.
Notice how good he's been in his actions as well. I said you can't just go through James Kiffey. Anytime they have pushed the run of play onto this right-hand side, they have found some success. Obviously, of course, the broadcaster skirts creeping in for Rebayon. But when you know, as a New Mexico United player, that it's going to be a one-sided affair in the likes of James Kiffey, if you could find a way to go after he and Salgado, which they have done, that is going to suit you well. Now, Mark Lowry trying to find a way to counterpunch. Just 15 minutes to go. It might be too little, too late.
Weehan, who starred in Reno, saw a downtick in numbers last year for 1868 FC. That's his 5th of the year. He scored a dozen and assisted 8 more in his rookie year when He won the league's Rookie of the Year in 2017. How many of these guys from New Mexico were cast aside, Devin? Weehan didn't fit in anymore in San Jose. That wasn't the answer. Frater in Phoenix. Santi Mowar at Bethlehem, where he didn't fit in with Bethlehem and really Philadelphia. Frater lofting, header snapped in. New Mexico's run away with it. Weehan's feeling it now. He is the one who knocks. The world practically stopped, Devin. I don't think anyone was totally aware that one had gotten in. But it has. The smoke billows out. It's 3-0.
When you take a look at New Mexico United and their aerial threats, Justin Schmidt on the back line, Kevon Frater and Devin Sandoval. Who does not get enough credit is Chris Weehan. Now this is all done in the dirty work by Dev Frater. Skates, ice skating, enjoy it. Yeah, we're in New Mexico, but you're in trouble. You are turned all the way around here. Frater makes an absolute mockery of Drew Becky. That is a seasoned vet right now. Left, right, back to the left, all the way back up. Time stands still, except for Chris Weehan. Jermaine Forta, the poor guy, can do nothing but watch as his entire back line is in shambles. The attacking midfielder had pushed his line a bit higher when Sandoval goes off. He bags 2 in 4 minutes, and most assuredly 3 points.
Tommy Madden comes on. That's enough for Juan Pablo Guzman. Both teams have used their full allotment of changes. Kevin, it just emanates out of this place, the energy and the passion. And I understand if you want to say what Cincinnati did last year, what Sacramento's done for half a decade in this league. I mean, there are some really amazing venues and home crowds. Phoenix on Dollar Beer Night and most other nights. I can go down the list, but New Mexico, they might be the most enthusiastic fans in the league right now. And the new car smell is left. This is real. El Paso's feeling it right now. Another crowd of 10,000 plus. That's a little misguided. You know something, Devin? It always seems like New Mexico gives something back when they play here. There's those explosive moments that bring a fan base back time after time. And yet, the conversation we had with Troy Lesane, he thinks there's a lot left to fix right now. He's happy where they're at. This win will put them in 4th in the league. It's where he more or less wanted to be going into September. He'll be happy to be there at the beginning of August. They are still working on little things that can take them to the next level.
I'd like to see them finish a game off now. You've went and gone after a team that most people would regard as one of the top 5 or 6 in the Western Conference, a team that can knock it around quite nicely, and you've imposed your will. Up 3-0 with 12 minutes left. Can you keep the 0? Can you make sure that the visitor has no chance of daylight down the stretch? This is a team that earlier this year, and even mid-season of sorts, right around the end of May, beginning of June, they still showed some of those inner demons where they would let teams crawl back into a match. If you want to compete at the end of this season, this is a test of character. Can you get out in front and stay out in front? Don't give up a goal or two. You've already applied enough pressure. Now just finish it off.
Foul, Akamatsu. Mexico felt like if El Paso got in a rhythm, they are among the very best in the Western Conference. And in the first half, El Paso held 60% the possession. They lack that final touch, that final pass at times to unlock New Mexico. And New Mexico's run away with it after a penalty. It's all that separated these sides at the break. Fans, the USL unveiled its elite youth platform, USL Academy. It allows clubs at all levels across the USL to develop its local youth, compete at the highest level across the United States, including the USL Academy Cup. For more information, visit uslsoccer.com/academy. Speed on display. Derek Gebhard swarmed. Mohammed backs him out. Away from Madden. 10 minutes to play.
Mark Lowry's not going to be happy with the way that man right there, Sebastian Contreras, has played so far. Everybody just kind of stepping out aside. There's a good look from Edson Partida, though. He feels like he could give his manager something to think about going forward. Let's transition there. El Paso Locomotive already talked about the fact that they are 0-3-3 in their previous 6 matches. Only 2 goals to show for it. Headed for another L as well as another shutout. Not a look you want going forward. So as an individual player, 10 minutes to play. Whether you've been on for the initial 80 or you're one of the 3 substitutes that's come onto the pitch in the likes of Yuma, Contreras, or Edson Partida, give your manager something to think about going forward. Give him a reason why next game out you should be involved in the starting 11.
Attendance tonight, it's not quite an attendance record here. 13,521. He drew over 15,000 for that May 5th game against San Antonio. The Hill is packed. Professional soccer in New Mexico filled a niche that was empty after the loss of the New Mexico collegiate soccer program. When you want to talk about great attendance, great atmosphere, fans that fell in love with it, that's a giant loss for the college game. But New Mexico United came at the right place at the right time. This has been a magical year for their fans in a lot of ways.
Some high energy by Tommy Madden just creeping in down in the bottom corner. Of course, we are not going to allow him to play fast like we saw at the beginning of the first half. And there's the Argentine standing over the ball. Drew Becky waiting on the back post anxiously, maybe that he might be able to make amends for the embarrassing movement on the other side of the field in front of Frater.
This is hammered out of play. You know what stands out to me about El Paso? They were in first place for a short time. They picked up a loss shortly thereafter, and I was asking a little bit about that to Mark Lowry. This is probably 2-3 months ago, and he said, look, 1 loss in this league becomes 2 or 3. All of a sudden, you've dropped 4 or 5 places. And they're going to finish this night in 6th place in the West. They have a lot of good things going. It's going to be disappointed tonight. Make no doubt, this 7 games without a win, this is that cascading effect that he talked about months ago, and they did drop 4 or 5 places.
Especially coming off of a team that went 9 unbeaten. You have to realize that you track all the way back to that matchup against Phoenix Rising on April 13th. At that point in time, coming in, they had lost the first game of the season. Most coaches would write that off as a wash. They drew twice. And then a nice victory against Orange County SC. Felt like, okay, things were clicking a little bit. Phoenix brought them back down to reality. And then they went on a run of their own. One of the few teams that was able to keep pace with Phoenix Rising for quite some time. That's not the case anymore. You go all the way back to that 2-0 victory on the road on June 15th against Tulsa Roughnecks. And since then, it just seems like things are not clicking, and you have to find a way to get back on track. Simply said, go back to basics. And just find a way to put one foot in front of the other. Trust the guy next to you. Do not put your head down, and find a way to remain positive through this slump of play.
Said in the lead up to this game, I just hope one falls. Salgado, crack that goes over. All this said, and Toko likely to return on the weekend. Jerome Kiesewetter making his way back from a hamstring injury, had scored 10 goals in not 10 games coming into the team. Well, they're without Michak Jerome. Point to those 3 players and say if the USL Championship had all-star teams, all 3 of them could have been on the midseason all-star team. And all 3 of them are not playing tonight. Which leads to a good question, Devin. Why is there not a USL all-star game?
I'm the wrong man to ask that
All
question.
right. Count me in, man. I am there for that action.
It's definitely a fun one to talk about, especially this time of year with MLS having a little fun down in Orlando as we speak.
All-star right there, Frater, no doubt.
And the way he's playing, he's definitely deserved in that conversation. Santi Moar would feel like he's involved in that. For me, the difficulty was always, when do you have it? I'm not a big fan of the mid-season personally.
If you did have an all-star game, would you want East versus West?
There's so many different ways. I saw someone that came after me on social media saying that why not take the MLS homegrowns and take one of the best 18 versus USL Championship? I said, well, it's not a bad idea. The difference is most of the guys that are best USL Championship see those homegrowns on a regular basis.
Indeed.
5 minutes to play. Not only the individuals we talked about, but as a team, find something to build on here in this rough stretch for El Paso Locomotive. More importantly, within the results, they've had some decent outings, just can't score. T2, Phoenix Rising, RGV, all right in front of you. You're gonna immediately have to go after things on the road right now. You're gonna be doing the home away for quite some time. Just got to find a way to get a solid base here and build off of that. Mexico United, on the other hand, we're super excited to get back in the W column. Now they're going to go 2 in a row here. Of course, that late goal by Daniel Bruce against Sacramento Republic. And they're going to stay at the Lab on the weekend against Austin Bold FC, a team that cannot find the recipe to win on the road.
Bruce. The aforementioned late heroics against Sacramento. But I ask, is that the moment where you got your season back on track? And of course, in reality, we don't know. You set a crucial moment for this team. Cell phones are out. They're all on the ESPN app. All watching this game. Frater took it away. Leading Bruce. Bruce rips it over the crossbar.
Really like this look by Frater. Thought that he was going to have a go. Unselfish play. And the problem is this ball needed to be out in front of Daniel Bruce. If it's out in front, the touch is positive. He immediately sets himself up more appropriately. Does not have to worry about the momentum. Instead, the forward starts to falter a little bit. Daniel Bruce looking to go back-to-back with goals. Just gets away from him a little bit. As spectacular as the one was in the game winner against Sacramento Republic, you better believe he would love to find netting again.
Foul here, free kick El Paso. Locomotive host Portland, who watching their stock fall off a cliff right now. Then at Phoenix, home against Tacoma, at RGV. If you don't get 6-7 points out of that, you're officially in some trouble.
There's a bit of cramping on the far side as well. A couple minutes to go here, and just maybe find something down the stretch. Gebhard reaching the ground, just trying to figure a few things out. Why not from a set piece?
Service lifted, bounces down, that gets cleared. Devin, I know you know some of these guys from other places. Weehan named man of the match and getting a well-deserved applause from the crowd. If I said to you at the start of the year, who's Ben Bury and Daniel Bruce and Ryan Williams, Tony Soler, Tommy Madden, Ken Akamatsu, Manny Padilla, Salim Muhammad, Rashid Tete, I think the average fan would go, I don't know any of those names. And New Mexico has built a roster where those guys come in and they get the very best out of them positionally. There's some guys that are not on big money that are playing big roles right now. That's enormous.
Testament to not only their ability to take advantage of the opportunities presented to them, but the scouting aspect of things. Recognizing what type of system you want to play, exactly the culture that you're going to build. That's not an easy look. You take a look back at multiple expansion squads and just compare the ones in the East right now struggling compared to the ones in the West. Hartford Athletic, Loudoun United. We're singing the praise of Birmingham Legion, but that's only recent. Everybody in the West seems to have a bit more of a say, at least in terms of the playoff race right now.
You look at 4, 5, 6 in the table right now. All expansion teams. Austin, El Paso, New Mexico.
In full circle there. It's guys like Troy Lesane recognizing that he has to surround himself with the right people. Never a conversation goes by with him where it's not about Mike Grazak, Zach Prince, talks about Brandon Morris, Tyler Harris, the trainer, everybody. It is a family start to finish. And exactly what they're able to do. He talked to us about Brandon saying that he's the best operation guy in the league, that he was his first hire, that he went after him from Lou City, and talent recognizes talent. Troy Lesane obviously doing a good job for himself, but there are so many great leaders in any aspect of life that if they don't have the right team around them, it just doesn't work. And obviously right now, they're clicking.
Crossed over Gebhardt. For all the guys who you don't know, Suggs, Guzman, Sandoval, Moar, Weehan, Schmidt, Frater, Estrada, Yearwood. They've been around this block more than once. They've captained other teams. They've been leading scorers for other teams. Some of them have been on the discard pile. Out of this incredible collection, varied experience and skill level, created a team that's going to finish tonight in 4th in the West. New Mexico throws the pedal down. Weehan, 2 second-half goals. And New Mexico climbs above El Paso and above Austin into 4th in the Western Conference. Another clean sheet for New Mexico, their 3rd of the year, their 2nd straight win. New Mexico United is officially back on track.
This was all about preparation for the home squad. Troy Lesane telling us the routine they put themselves through, how they alternate between assistant coaches. They were prepared. They knew exactly what El Paso Locomotive was going to bring to the table. Took them a bit of time to get into it. Started off by a penalty by Kevon Frater, and then 2 in the second half by Chris Weehan would get him out in front by 3 and get him 3 points.
3-0 win for New Mexico. We'll wrap it up after this.
New Mexico United thanks the Albuquerque Isotopes organization for sharing this amazing facility with us. Fans, don't forget to get your black and yellow gear at shop.newmexicoutd.com. Fans, follow New Mexico United on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for New Mexico UTD. And if you're going to share pictures from tonight, be sure to tag us. Fans, thanks again for showing that you are the best fans in the USL. We'll see you again Saturday, and as always, go United!
Soak it in. These are the heroes in New Mexico. New Mexico United, another win at home. They've waited months to get back here in front of a 13,000 plus crowd capacity. Wasn't Bruce who had the goal this time around, although the TIFO might make you think so. 3-0 to New Mexico United on Wednesday Night Soccer. Here are your full-time highlights. In El Paso, got the best opportunity in the early going and 60% possession in the first half, Devin.
How cute is that from Richie Ryan? Just quick little touch of that left foot of his. Actually had a nice strike from James Kiffey earlier on. Couldn't find anybody trailing on the back post. All comes down to the goal, though. Josh Suggs, you find Santimar running through. Looking for the ball, too. Devin Sandoval floats over. Well done by Akamatsu to bring this down and then recognize that he can bring it back across his body. Unfortunately, he gets taken down. But fortunately, guess who? Yvonne Frater steps up, bottom right corner, 12 on the year. Thank you very much.
The social media said, quote, freight train. That didn't go over well in El Paso. Neither did this. Weehan, 2 goals in the second half.
A bit of shade being thrown at the 8th notch and the traveling squad from El Paso Locomotive. However, the bright light was going to be Chris Weehan. Love this ball in back across. And watch the second one. It's the second and then the third. Boom. Drew Becky gets it wrong, and he doesn't follow it up. Flat-footed, does not react to the ball, gets back across his body. Chris Weehan, Johnny on the spot. That would be 2. We're not done. Let's get another one. 2 for Chris Weehan in the span of 4 minutes. Why not? There's the distribution that Mark Lowry talked about coming out of the back, but it's the pressure from Frater. El Paso's not able to do it. New Mexico United is. Trailing run once again. He asked for it. Ask my friend, and you shall receive. They get the third one in the 75th minute. Frater, Weehan, 3-0, 3 points, and it was really the evolution. It's all about how a team can evolve when what's thrown at you. New Mexico United made tactical changes, getting a good balance on both sides. At one point in time, El Paso Locomotive, when you look at the attacking third, had 59% of their run of play coming down the left-hand side. I said coming into this match, watch out. They're going to go to James Kiffey. They're going to run it every single time. It's not that hard to figure out. Now is the time, if you're Mark Lowry, you have to find a way to adjust your tactics a little bit. You have too much talent on the offensive and defensive side of the ball to be run off the field like this.
Devin, full-time match stats show a 3-0 win for New Mexico United. If you are New Mexico United, looks like you've got your season back in the right direction because last 2 months were very difficult.
It'll be even more interesting to see how it plays out the next 2 weeks because you've gotten a come-from-behind victory at Papa Murphy's Park. Most people don't win there. You've made a statement victory at home versus El Paso. Now you have to follow it up with 2 more top 10 teams. One team has struggled to travel on the road. The other one is on a downward spiral. However, you have to go on the road to do it. You want to be relevant? Go make another statement.
Did I hear Papa Murphy's Park? That's where our next Wednesday Night Soccer is. It's August the 7th on ESPN News. Sac Republic, Las Vegas Lights, both outside the playoff line. How about this crowd? How about the way they've embraced this team? 13,521 in attendance. Just their second home match since May the 5th, and it's a 3-0 win for our entire team, led by producer Ava Ponte, director Gage Tillotson, Eric Valero, Hannah Reyes, Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts, saying thanks for watching Wednesday Night Soccer.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.